They were about 4% 1 year ago, 5% now. So regardless of maturity you looked at, the yields to US fixed income instruments are much higher compared to Japanese fixed income instruments. So what do you think this would do to demand for yen versus dollar? You're a company, you have free cash, and you want to invest it into short-term money instruments. Where would you invest if you expect that US interest rates are much higher now? That's kind of a rhetorical question, right? You would increase your demand for currencies that has higher interest rates. That means demand for dollar is going to go up. And I'm a Japanese company with free cash. Instead of getting almost nothing for my investment, I can convert it into dollar and get 5%. Sure, in the meantime, yen also could depreciate, but I'm going to do this for a while. So differentials in interest rates will create changes in foreign exchange rates. So as you know, GM, I have actually exposure to the difference of the interest rates between Japan and US. Not directly, I mean, by direct exposure to exchange rate, but the source of the exposure is actually the interest rate changes. So suddenly you're thinking economic exposure is not just about exposure to the exchange rates. It's exposure to other things that drive the exchange rate. So if I know that's happening, I can actually take positions and differences between the two, which is going to lead us to some of the instruments. For example, since USD interest rates have gone up considerably more than yen interest rates, this led to, among other reasons, a depreciation of yen against US dollar, which made Japanese companies more competitive, hence affected the bottom line. This is the true nature of the economic exposure. And here, economic exposure happens due to interest rate differentials between two currencies. Thus, when such exposure is to be managed, it should be managed using instruments that directly makes or loses money when such differentials change. So you know that 1 year from now, if U.S. interest rates go up another percent and Japanese interest rates don't, everything else being the same, obviously nothing happens in just a vacuum, but as the economists love saying, ceteris paribus, okay? It's Latin for everything else being the same. Of course, in real world, as my econometrics professor used to say, ceteris never paribus, but it's kind of a thought experiment. Everything else being the same, what do you expect to happen to dollar-yen exchange rates if U.S. interest rates are much higher in 1 year compared to Japanese interest rates? What do you think? What would be your prediction? Based on what we talked about today and in general, your common sense. Short-term fixed income securities denominated in dollars are going to be a lot more attractive, right? Instead of 5.5, you're going to get 6.5. Yen, I don't think we're going to see above 0.5% anytime soon. So I'm a Japanese company with a lot of cash. What do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to put my money into US dollar instruments. Let me give you the biggest example. And you're going to kind of laugh at this. Let me look at this is dollar Turkish lira. Okay. I'm going to show you the last 2 years. I mean, I can't do 2 years directly, but I can look at it. So since before COVID, okay? Kind of the summer before COVID started, $1 US bought about less than 6 Turkish liras. By the end of 2020, it was about 8. And around here, October 21, it started climbing and it hit about 16. Now it's at 27. The biggest thing that happened here, Turkish government put pressure on the central bank to actually reduce the short-term interest rates, Turkish lira, when US actually was kind of starting to increase the interest rates. Suddenly investing into Turkish lira money market assets is not that attractive. So I'm a foreign company. I'm not going to keep my money in Turkish lira instruments. So money simply left. And they were very stubborn, and now it's about 27. Let me show you the last month or so. It did come down a little bit, but it's not going up as much anymore, because all of that also created inflation, which then feeds back into depreciation of the currency. It's kind of a vicious circle. But the primary driving reason was stubbornness of the Turkish government to keep the short-term interest rates low. So let's say I'm an American company competing against a Turkish company. I don't necessarily buy and sell anything from Turkey, but I know that as their exchange rates, as their currency depreciates, they're going to be more competitive. And in this case, the primary reason behind that is interest rate differentials. So can I do something that trades on that? Turns out that you can. I'm just going to give you a taste of it. You can use what we call floating to floating cross-currency interest rate swap. We will expand on those instruments towards the end of the semester, but I just kind of wanted to put you on notice that that sort of stuff is going to happen, right? Now let's stop here for today. For some reason, my throat is getting really bad. On Wednesday, we're going to talk more about measuring the extent of economic exposure and how to take precautions so that that number doesn't affect our bottom line. Right? I'll see you guys on Wednesday.